Well, the church is so quiet, I wonder if I'm in the right place. I sat there and I says, you know, there's a sign back there on the bulletin board that says what I really think. We are a covenant people. That's every one of us. Not only us who are sitting here, maybe us especially because we are here, but us who have learned to love the Lord. He made a covenant with us. That covenant being, if we serve Him, He will save us. Now, I use save as kind of in quotation marks. Here I am about to celebrate my 91st birthday. Sometimes I sort of feel it, but most of the time I can't imagine that much time disappearing. Before I get into that though, I have scripture I want to read. If I was to say the book of Psalms, probably 90% of the community of Christ would think of me as old Psalm 119. For some reason that seems to be a very close, it speaks to us. I have it underlined in my Bible. I recently received a birthday present. A birthday present with that psalm on it. And I'm sure they did not know that that was on my favorites. I did receive another birthday present, kind of like this, a little bookmark, and it says Ephesians, 4th chapter. Well, that's a story in itself. So, Psalm 119, and then from the book of James. Chapter 1 and verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. I expect, like me, you've heard that before. Sort of an interesting little take on that. Heard it before. I was born of godly parents, goodly parents. So I guess you could say, and in my patriarchal blessing, I was reminded of this, that I was born of goodly parents. There's a lot to be said for that. I sat here and listened to the music, and I found myself just automatically keeping time. You know, why did it happen? Well, my mother was a organist, pianist in the church. When she was a young lady in her teens, she and her sister were used various congregations for their singing ability. So Mom had one of those pump organs. And I can remember, as early as I can remember, listening to her play on that organ. So it was kind of in me. Might say I was born with it. Well, I was born with a lot of other things too. You know, I was born in 1926. And I remember back to about 1928. One of the things I remember is getting a spanking. Because I made too much noise in church. Yeah, so my church connection goes back a long way. At least somebody today said, well, I'm pretty old. I'm one of those that was born right at the tail end of the Depression. Tail end of the Depression? I'm born before the Depression. I'm old enough to remember when it hit. I'm old enough to remember that I had a question about God. They said, He'll provide for you. Don't worry. But when it gets down to where the dust that blows under the window tastes good because you're hungry, you start wondering. Well, I'm old enough to know better. But I do get emotional with someone. Now, there's a lot of things that can cause that. I had an uncle, my mother's brother, that was in the First World War. Good man, but we never saw him in church. So one day I went to him. I don't know how. I've been 10, 11 years old. And I said, Uncle Rich, why don't you go to church? He says, I can't. Why can't you? Hey, by that time, we all knew he was a veteran. He said, when I go to church, I get so emotional I have to leave. Well, I can understand that now. Then I couldn't. So along with all my experiences, I can say I was born of godly parents, and I have a church background. Now you probably noticed that I walked up here hanging on to my son-in-law's arm. Now you think that isn't a big step for me? It was a big step. If it wasn't for the fact that I had to hang on to his arm, I'd be right down there in Houston today working with the RV Association, helping those people out. Now I've been with them. I loaned them a 100-foot, 10-gauge extension cord because they'll need that. I have a lot of equipment. The wife and I had an RV for years and years. We traveled, and we met a lot of good people. While we're talking about that, let's talk about Branson. Bill, can you tell me when Branson started?
John Weller would probably know the closest.
Okay. Well, John, when did it start? What year?
Branson congregation start. Yes.
Well, it started, there was a fellow that came to work on the dam, on Table Rock Dam, and that's what I understand. That was the beginning of it. He was an elder. They met down at the City Hall. There was a meeting room down there, and they met there first. I think that's the earliest I've heard of.
Well,
But that was, the dam was started in the late 50s, I believe. 58, something like that.
yes, I can remember that situation. I remember when the Farleys come down here, and the Teeters. And I don't know why, but Branson has always been a favorite congregation of mine. Wife and I went on a honeymoon. What's that been? 64 years ago? And one of the places we stopped was the Branson congregation because I wanted And while we was making the circle, visiting places, like that worked in. Well, so I'm here today, but I want you to know that you've been a part of my thoughts, my prayers, and concerns for many, many years. Lord has blessed you like a lot of other congregations. So we have that to consider. And when I looked back there and saw that your bulletin board said we were a covenant people, yes. Now I was all prepared to give you a straight out of the scripture sermon. For some reason, and I'll just say the leprechauns got a hold of my sermon notes, and they disappeared. Well, John made a comment that if I needed to, I could just bring extemporaneous. Now, John, this really is not extemporaneous. It could be, but no, I sort of planned it, sort of had an outline. Because I've been around long enough that maybe I have of something that was, well, it's important just as the Lord, that I'm still here. And I'll tell you about that too. But the things that we do and appreciate. See, my hand I got bruises on them. That's because I work. Hey, I like to work. My wife would tell me I do too much. I don't know whether I do or I don't. But anyway, I have an appreciation for it. And so my daughter, who lives out in the country, out in Kansas, called and said she was having trouble with her plumbing. You know what? My dad was a very knowledgeable man. He was respected by the community for his forward thinking. He had one semester of college at the Iowa Agricultural College, Ames, Iowa. Well, of course, in his day and age, that was really something. But what he really learned, and that paid off, was animal husbandry, forward farming events. He even bought a Delco electric plant and had it installed on the range. And one thing that the whole community enjoyed, he put up a yard light. Now, if you've been in Wyoming, you know that yard light could be seen for miles. And it became a focus point. Man, I don't know how many people have told me, I was riding my horse last night and it got late. It was a dark night, I couldn't see the stars. But I saw Dillion light. Well, that meant a lot to me in another way. If Dad's life could help them, maybe my life could help somebody else. So by the time I was about to turn 10 years old, I had a chance to make a decision whether I was going to be baptized or not. And of course, I said yes. Well, there were several others ahead of me that were being baptized there in the Belfoose River by the Devil's Tower. Some of you know about J.D. Curtis. Well, J.D. Curtis was there for a church reunion. And so was L.O. Wilderman. And I'm going back quite a way to some of those names. I don't remember the elder that baptized me, but L.O. Wildermuth brought my confirmation. And it was very proper. They turned an orange crate up on end and sent me on it. But then the elders goes up behind me. Which goes to say that the sacraments of the church are important, no matter what supports them. And today, as a covenant people, we definitely need to remember that those sacraments are a sacrament. They're here for a reason. But we need to be a forward-reaching, forward-thinking group of people. My dad showed that when he went out and went and bought a Delco light plant. He became a beacon. Not only that, he gave me some experience in electrical work. I just as a kid by accident, I designed a four-way switch. Now, how many people here have a four-way switch in their home? You can buy them. You can buy three-way switches. Everybody knows what three-way switch is. But a four-way switch, kind of uncommon. Well, I designed the first one of those in our part of the country. Because somebody was real progressive and said, I've got three-way switches, but they're not doing the job. So I sat down there and I remember right where it happened. We had an upstairs in the ranch house. And we kids slept up there. And I remember waking up in the morning, 40 below zero, and every nail was hanging frost about that long. Well, anyway, that's all. I sat on the steps, the stair steps that led to it. I sat there thinking, well, how can that be fixed? And I figured out that, well, hey, all I had to do is take a double switch, and cross the wires. Which I did. And it worked. And you know, that got quite a reputation for me. Anybody around the community had electrical problems? Where can we get an electrician? Oh, go get that Dillion kid. He's pretty sharp. So I knew about electricity. I've had a wonderful career with electricity. Even involved some with the temple, which is pretty much a highlight. But that, I started in 1956 working on plans for the temple. I'm a civil engineer. Now, when I was 8 years old, I saw a transit set up on a tripod right by the bank building. They were going to build another addition to the bank. See, I was 8 years old, about 1934, in the middle of the Depression. The only place that could afford to do any expansion was the bank, so I had to be by the bank. I looked at that transit and I said, I want to be an engineer. I wanted to be an engineer when I went in the Army. Well, those of you that know the Army or know the services know that that's the last place they were going to put me. They tried to make a pilot out of me. After all, I had worked out there on the airport when I was in high school. I shoveled snow off the airport runway so they could land. You might enjoy that. And the pilots appreciated that so much that they offered me free flying instructions. Well, it paid off pretty good. So, I got in the Army, you're going to be a pilot. They took me in there and they run all kinds of tests. Whoa, wait a minute. take them glasses off. Oh, no, that don't work. Okay, well, what are we going to do with you? And they sent me various schools. One of them was a law school class. Another was in explosives. They made an explosive expert out of me. And then they sent me off to be a navigator. And I learned a lot about star navigation and all that. And all through this, I felt that the Lord was with me. I missed a lot of church services, but every chance I had, I would go to church. I had a little book about the enduring principles of the church, and I knew that, and I knew about my tithing too. At $37 a month, you don't have a whole lot of money for tithing, but I give what I could. Anyway, we're back to navigator school, and that happened along in late 45. Late 40, yeah, 45. Battle of the Bulge put a crypt in the military style. So they come over there to Wright Patterson and says, yeah, you got a class here that probably never going to use. Just give them a rifle. We need them over in Germany. So turn in your books and take a rifle and go. You're wondering what I'm getting to. I want to show how God worked behind the scenes in my life. And oftentimes, if you just sit back and relax a little bit, you'll see that. I'm hard-headed, God's bullheaded, and I guess the Lord decided that He'd let me have a stroke, so I would have to sit back. But anyway, we're back to, they handed me that rifle, put me on a troop train, sent me down to Florida. Drew Field there in Tampa. Incidentally, if you're ever in Tampa and you go to our church there in Tampa, they have the old base chapel for their church. When they closed the base, they moved that chapel into town. And I went there when I looked. I didn't know about all this, but I looked at that church and I said, this looks like that chapel. Because like I said, when I was in the service, I tried to be attentive. So, I was at Tampa, and under strict orders. You're being shipped out, you don't tell anybody, you don't do anything, you just keep your mouth shut and do what you're told. So they processed us in, checked our names off, and the officer that was in charge of that part saw me go through and he says, Dillion, where are you from? Wyoming, sir. What part of Wyoming? Northern Wyoming. I want to talk to you, but we don't have time now. You wait for me, I'll come get you. So I walked through the line and got outside and I found something to sit on. And I waited. Pretty soon this officer came out. Talked to me and he says, the reason I want to talk to you, you might know something about, that I know something about. He says, what's your dad's name? I said, my dad's Emery. Emery W. Dillion. Well, how's he doing? Oh, Dad died years ago. He died when I was 7 years old. He said, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'd like to hear more about your family, or would you have dinner with me tonight? Well, I'd love to, sir, but I'm under restricted orders. I can't leave this place. He said, I make the orders. I make those orders. And if you want to have lunch, we'll have it. Hey, I'm all for that. I'm not going to miss an opportunity when I see one. So we go and we had fried oysters. Oh my goodness. First time I ever had fried oysters. They were good. Almost ate too many. And it turned out in this conversation that he had worked for my dad when my dad built the barn that the yard light was hooked on. And he remembered me as a snot-nosed 3-year-old running around there into everything. You know, in your imagination, can you imagine that? One of them was a long ways from Florida. Anyway, so he's in a conversation. He says, "You know where you're going?" Well, I suppose Germany. He says, "Yeah, they need help over there. Do you want to go?" No, sir, I'm not wild about it. Next morning, 3 o'clock, all you guys grab your duffel bag. We're going to take you out here to the airport. You're going to catch that plane that's going to Germany. So we all went out there, got in line. Don't do anything in the Army, you don't get in line. And they started to call names on that airplane. Kind of unusual. They started with Mr. Zeke, WWC. And they went through the alphabet to the back to the front. They come to the E's, the D's, didn't call my name. Then they jumped on to the C's, and still didn't call my name. So here come a guy with a paper, he says, "What's your name?" And he looked, he says, "Well, you're not on here." So he called somebody else. Well, there was about 3 of them that come. "Your name not on here." "Well, what am I going to do?" "Well, you just sit down here on your duffel bag and we'll have a Jeep come get you." I'm beside the point. So let's cover that right now. Here's a picture taken in 2014. The wife and I are in the southern part of the Everglades National Park. We're out there looking for alligators and pythons. Now, the biggest weapon I have is that stick I have in my hand. So I'm like those guys up there in Alaska that hunt bears with a switch. I'm hunting alligators with a stick. I'm not too thrilled about it because, hey, alligators eat people. At least I thought they did. And when they asked me to put my foot in the water, they had a hard time getting me to go any further, but they did. So they took a picture of us out there. Anyway, that's sort of besides the point. Except that God is very favorable to a lot of his critters. He's been favorable to me. I can remember when, well, we had dimes. We were lucky if we had a dime. But we managed to save part of those dimes to help with the auditorium. Now I know how old the auditorium is. They started building the auditorium in 1926, the day I was born. So hey, I'm fame. No, it's just something that's nice to know. But what was really important is that even as a kid, and I guess maybe because I was born of godly parents, that I learned to save money for the mission. Now the auditorium. Hey, we have World Conference at the auditorium, don't we? The auditorium